Gondwana Records Podcast. Gondwana Records Podcast.
Welcome to another episode of the Gondwana Records Podcast. I'm Mari from Gondwana Records and thank you so much for joining us. For the next 2 episodes, we'll be shining a light on the Ancient Infinity Orchestra. Ancient Infinity Orchestra is a 15-member spiritual jazz ensemble born out of the lovely music community in the north of England, making beautiful and joyous music. The band has released 2 albums on Gondwana Records, River of Light in 2023, and they just released the brand new 2nd album, It's Always About Love. Composer and bassist Ozzy Moysey is the leader and the driving force of this magical project. And I'm very happy and excited to chat with you, Ozzy. How are you?
Konnichiwa.
Konnichiwa.
I'm very well, thank you. I'm good. How are you?
Genki desu. I'm very well.
Genki desu.
So nice to hear konnichiwa from you.
That was good too, because we've worked together for a few years now,
Yeah.
but we haven't really met up, so it's nice to finally sit down and just talk about myself.
Yeah.
Not ask you any questions.
Yeah, so nice to be in the same space, and thank you for joining us in this podcast studio in London. Where did you come from today?
I came down from Leeds on the train and then walked along from the station along the canal, which was really nice. Not what I was expecting to see. I
Yeah.
like such a peaceful walk on the way here, so that was really good.
In this episode, Ozzy shares stories about his musical upbringing and the journey that led to the founding of the Ancient Infinity Orchestra, as well as how they became part of the Gondwana Records family. We'll wrap up with a Q&A session where Ozzy answers questions from fans and friends. So stay tuned. So you came from Leeds today. Are you originally from Leeds?
I was born in Brighton, and then I moved from Brighton when I was 8 to Lincolnshire, which is where I say that I grew up from, in Boston. A little village outside of Boston, where I was since I was 10. So mainly grew up there, and then moved to Leeds when I was 18,
Okay.
and then spent a couple of years back down in Brighton when the COVID restrictions happened, and then back up to Leeds 2.5 years after that, so I've been there since.
Okay. What would be your fondest memory of your childhood with music? What was playing in your house?
My mum's CDs, J.J. Cale, Earth, Wind and Fire, some jazz ones as well, but I don't think I heard those until I was a bit older. The first thing that I ever intently listened to by myself, putting on headphones and just listening and not doing anything else, was Tina Turner tape that I got at a boot fair.
Wow.
And I remember just like messing around, like turning the thing and then putting it into a tape player, not knowing how it worked, and just it coming on like halfway through a Tina Turner track. That's my first memory of like actively listening to music. I think I was probably about 4 or 5.
Wow, did you enjoy that?
Yeah. I think you kind of enjoy everything, don't you? At that age, just like whoa, just
Yeah.
taking everything in. So
What about the encounter with instruments?
my mum bought me a balafon from a music shop in Brighton when I was about 4.
Balafon.
A balafon, yeah, like a West African, like a marimba.
Yeah,
type thing.
marimba.
That was when I was about 4. Then she bought me a piano as well when I was 7, but she never like was super encouraging specifically, like not trying to make me play music, but just offering it as a thing to do. And it wasn't until a bit later that I actually did that. When I was at primary school, we did this rainforest project, so we were learning about all the animals and like the canopy and then all the different sections of the rainforest vertically. So I remember that, and we did some improvised performance where we'd made shakers, I think, and the balafon was there, and all the kids were just sat in the assembly room. It was a really small school, but there was maybe about 10 of us just like improvising sounds based on the rainforest. So that was my first proper music experience and got me interested in sound in general.
Maybe that was your first performance
Yeah,
in front of audience?
definitely, yeah.
Wow, that is really cool project.
Yeah,
in forest.
Yeah, it was so nice, and it was just a really important thing for kids to be able to experience that, and it's so simple, isn't it?
Yeah.
That little experience probably changed my whole life.
So your mom bought you your first instrument, that was balafon and piano.
Yeah.
And how did you started to be interested in learning?
I wasn't very interested in learning, to be honest. Even when she got me a piano, I had my first piano lesson when I was 7. And on the first lesson, they got us to use our left hand, so the low notes. And then the next time I went, they said, okay, now we're going to use this hand as well. And I was like, I don't want to. And she said, well, I'm not going to teach you then. And so I'd only thought about that afterwards, but because I was left-handed as well, I think I was just a bit reluctant. But then maybe I was just sort of meant to play the bass later on because I only wanted to do the low notes. So intermittent, like going in to have piano lessons and stuff every so often, but would always give up and not really have the interest. But I did have an interest in sound in general. And I remember talking to my mum when I was about 10, and she said, maybe you'd be really interested in doing Foley engineering stuff, because she knew that I reacted to sound and really enjoyed the sound of things. And so before playing any music outside of that performance at school, she knew that I had a deep interest in that.
So when was it that your focus became playing instruments or music?
My mum had offered me these like ways into making sounds, and I hadn't really like met them in the middle until I was about 11. Then I asked if I could have a guitar, and then I got really into the guitar and played it a lot. And one of my best friends, Jed, who I've known since I was 2 days old because our parents met at pregnancy classes, he's on the latest album as well.
Wow.
He was absolutely amazing at guitar. Like, we were both 11. I hadn't seen him actually in about 3 years. That's the biggest gap that we hadn't hung out. And then we met up again. We were both 11. We both had just got guitars, and we were both like loving Guns N' Roses, and he got me into a lot of music, and he just sounded incredible. He was playing like probably 9 hours a day or something.
Wow.
And I remember asking him, how do you get so good at like soloing, improvising, like what should I practice? Because I was all of a sudden really eager about music. And he gave me the best advice that I've had from anyone since as well. At age 11, he was like, don't practice, just play.
Oh.
And so I'm kind of still trying to stick to that in my approach to music. I have also like practiced a bit of technique, but I've never been a big practicer. I think as soon as I pick up the bass and practice something, figure something out these days, when I got to the bass later on, I always just put the bass down like, oh, that would be a nice tune, and then I start trying to like craft something of it. Yeah.
You just mentioned the bass, and you're now known as a bass player. So how did you pick up the bass?
The bass was much later actually. It was kind of after college, but guitar was a thing for a long time, and I think my most prolific stage of writing music was probably aged 12 to 17.
Okay.
I remember, because I grew up in a little village in Lincolnshire with lots of like beautiful animals and things. There wasn't a huge amount to do, so I ended up like writing so much music, and I think at the start of a musical journey that I was just spattergunning in all directions, trying so many different things.
Wow.
So bass came a lot later, but always writing music from a young age, and got very lucky to meet some amazing people at that time. I went for a guitar lesson quite early on with someone who was probably about only 8 years older than me. I reckon he was early 20s, Sam Osborne. And he had a very small recording studio about the size of what you can see in this room. And instead of doing guitar lessons, we were just like, let's record this music, let's write some music together. So we got really into composition, and so every week for a few years I'd go, and instead of paying for a guitar lesson, we'd just like record my new tunes and then build them up together. He was a massive part of creating an enthusiasm in me for writing music.
What? Are you still in touch with them?
No, but I did see him about 4 years ago, and I played him lots of the stuff that I've been doing recently, and it was a really sweet moment because he was kind of welling up, because I think he was like really proud.
Yeah.
It was a really nice moment because he's a family friend as well. I didn't know that when I first got a lesson with him, but he's actually like somehow related to my stepdad, I think.
Right.
Definitely.
Gondwana Records podcast.
I would like to know more musical influences from your early time. So you mentioned Guns N' Roses, which is surprising but often happen to musicians when I interview them. They have like a metal band,
Yeah.
also Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Yeah.
But what were you listening when you were actively creating?
I listened to a lot of heavy metal music. I think I just really liked the energy of that music, and I guess Guns N' Roses isn't heavy metal, but I was listening to a lot of metal as well. Lots of guitar-y music, Black Sabbath. I also really loved films, so this was going back in time again actually. Like I always loved things like West Side Story.
Okay.
Like some of those musicals, Sound of Music and stuff like that. The Jungle Book animation. Yeah, I think music to film, also seeing a lot of live music, not so much in Lincolnshire, that didn't really happen. It wasn't much of a thing, to be honest. Like, you would rarely see a gig in Boston. We did put on gigs and stuff, but thinking of back to Brighton, like, my mum would wheel me underneath the West Pier when I was still in a pram, like to take me to these huge drumming circles. There'd be like 50 people there playing it, back when there was a bit more arty stuff, I think, going down in Brighton. It was like quite well known for that, wasn't it? There's still amazing stuff going on, and like so many of my friends down there are doing amazing things, but I think those 30 years ago it was more livable for artists to go there and do lots of just jamming on the beach. Things weren't so expensive. So she would take me underneath the pier and listen to all those drummers playing, and apparently I'd be like dancing in my pram so hard that my ankles would hit the metal bar and start bleeding.
Oh my God.
But I didn't even care about it, just like, yeah.
Okay.
So those live music things I think have had the strongest effect. And then back up to Lincolnshire, we had a band called Geschmack, me and my friends from school, which I think means tasty in Yiddish, or taste in German as well, I think. So we had that band, which I think we thought was really heavy metal music, but I've listened to some of the back and I don't know what it was, but whatever it was good fun. And then I also had a duo with my friend Michael. On the first album we got a tune called Michael and Zelah, which I wrote for their wedding. So I was in a duo with Michael and we just went around pubs doing covers and originals. And then I was in a group called Shearwater with some of my friends from Boston Youth Jazz Orchestra, which I joined later on when I was about 17. We had like a band just doing pop covers. It was kind of like a function band, but there were just hardly any bands in that area. So we would play like New Year's Eve and things like that at the local place, which was called the Axe and Cleaver, which was proper, like a pretty rough but legendary place. I think you could buy like weed behind the bar, and like it shut down a while back now.
Okay, so how did you encounter with jazz music? Was there a record that you remember that hearing giving you some inspiration, or?
Definitely some of my mum's CDs. She had like an early George Benson record, Kind of Blue, Miles Davis, some Oscar Peterson records. In terms of jazz, I really loved the J.J. Cale stuff specifically. I used to listen to that a lot, one of her CDs. I actually owe her a large wad of CDs because I would just listen to them so much they're just all ruined, all the cases are smashed up and the CDs are now lost, etc. So hopefully I'll buy it, because I can remember all the albums, I'll be able to replace them. Fappy Lapatin, like kind of Django Reinhardt, gypsy jazz stuff, which I loved as well in terms of jazz. And then it wasn't until I heard Boston Youth Jazz Orchestra do a gig in a church, and these were like all people my age who I hadn't played any music with at the time. They didn't just play jazz stuff, they kind of moved through a lot of music. This was run by Lee Hextall, a legend of music in Lincolnshire and Boston. He's done so much for so many kids, and I'm so grateful to have been kind of picked up and taken in by him, because I saw the Boston Youth Jazz Orchestra played Black and Tan Fantasy by Duke Ellington, and they played Sepia Panorama by Duke Ellington as well, which has got like a Jimmy Blanton bass feature on it. And when I heard that music, because I'd listened to some of this jazz and other music of my mum's CDs, but then when I heard the Duke Ellington compositions live for the first time, that was a big thing. It's like I had to get involved with this. Like, how have all these people got together and done this, and I don't know about it? Like, I have to be involved. And so I asked if I could join the group, and Lee just took me under his wing and said, you should join the pop choir. So I joined the choir, and he let me join Boston Youth Jazz Orchestra, even though there were already 2 guitarists in Boston Youth Jazz Orchestra. So I was the third, so we would take turns, like 2 of us would play at once. But it was a different experience for me because everyone I was with could read music, and I'd never read any music other than like attempting the first book of a piano lesson with all the like kids' illustrations on it, trying to just read something in C major and then not finding it very interesting. But I was surrounded by people all of a sudden that were already like good improvisers. Just hearing a full band like that in a church was the next amazing experience that I think changed a lot of things.
Right. How old were you there?
That gig in particular, I reckon I was 16.
Okay.
I'd heard them a few times before because some of my friends who played music were in that group, but I was just like, I'm doing my thing, I'm writing all my own music at home, I'm just going to do it like that, or it's my metal band. So probably 16, and then stayed with them for 2 years.
Right. Then you moved to Leeds.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what made you go to Leeds?
So at that age of 18, I didn't know specifically that I really wanted to do just music, because growing up I loved so many different things. I loved spending time with animals, I loved doing music, but I also loved painting. I really wanted to be a camera operator. And I liked the idea of learning how to ski properly and being a ski instructor. I loved the idea of having a pub. I think I just like people, so I wanted to be around lots of people, and I think that exciting feeling of being on a television set, like doing a movie or something, really appealed to me as well. So I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do, so I was applying to go to lots of different places doing all kinds of different things. But when I went to Leeds, I met some nice people just waiting around in our auditions and things, and I was like, oh, this place feels nice. So ended up picking Leeds, and Jed, who I mentioned before, I was like, do you know what you want to do? He was like, I have no idea. I was like, maybe you should come and check out Leeds. So he ended up coming up and auditioning as well, and we both ended up going there together.
Okay, cool. So let's talk about Ancient Infinity Orchestra. It's a big spiritual jazz ensemble now, but please tell me how it was born and how you decided to form this project.
There was an important thing that had to happen after the music college experience, because none of us really enjoyed it that much. We did once we realised, I think my advice for anyone going to a music college, that took me a little bit of time in naivety for a while, but then once I realised that the thing that it was really good for was the facilities, like using the rooms, getting together and playing as much as you can. The 3 years just to focus on music. Like that alone is something that makes it still worthwhile, I think. And meeting people. Like those, once I thought, this is what I'm really going to get out of this, because realistically you don't have enough hours with these teachers who are there, and all of the learning comes from listening to records, playing with your friends, hanging out with your friends. And once you don't have that expectation of it, because I was a student rep for our year as well, so I would hear a lot of negative things sometimes, or at least maybe it felt negative because I was in that role. But once I saw it as an experience that I can use it for these 3 things this time and just make the most of these 3 years, it became a really, really great place to be. And I had some really, really amazing teachers as well.
So you went to music college in Leeds?
Yeah, that's what I ended up doing in the end. Yeah.
Okay.
Music. I studied composition there. I think I had the same teacher as Jasmine as well.
Okay.
Rob Mitchell was Jasmine's teacher, saxophone teacher. He taught me composition. The really important thing was just being with everyone who was there and listening to music non-stop and playing music as much as possible, then it was all good. Yeah.
Okay, so you're like, okay, Leeds is cool. Then you looked for a school?
Leeds College of Music.
Okay.
This is bad advertising. Sorry.
But yeah, if they want to learn jazz, that's the best place to be.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I suppose so. But if you want to learn music, it doesn't matter where you are, or like you can jump into it anywhere.
Okay. Then that was after college that you formed Ancient Infinity Orchestra?
So after college, we moved into a house which was detached, 76 Green Road it was called. And it's important that it was detached because we could make so much music there all through the day and into the night, and there was no problem because below us there was a pet shop that had closed down. So we had no neighbours that could complain. There was a couple who lived the closest to us, but they were very encouraging and always really nice. I found out years later that lots of people would call that the cult house because of all the sounds that would come out of the window. There was a big supermarket, and then there was this route to the park, so people would pass it all the time and the windows would be open. So this was the most important part so far of connection to music, when it started to get a lot deeper, because I guess you're out of the music college environment where everything's a little bit strange, and you're being like assessed for things which you shouldn't be assessed in. So then we had this kind of post-college era where we would play all day every day, and there'd be people milling in and out of the house. We'd be making food for each other non-stop, like waking up, literally going downstairs into a rehearsal. Your friends have already arrived. Like we had the benefit of just being like, we can sleep in a bit of us. And then we come downstairs, make coffee, straight into a rehearsal, make lunch together, and then go do another rehearsal in the sitting room. And then in the evening, once we were tired of playing, just listen to music. And we were doing a hell of a lot of, it was mainly just improvised music. The whole house, apart from me, were crippled with nerve damage and tendinitis from like overplaying and bad posture and like whilst playing, because all of them played guitar, and that uses such small muscle groups that you often get injuries if you're not really careful with it. And so that we went through phases, like sometimes we were just making beats on laptops when no one could physically play an instrument. So that would happen for 3 months, and we'd be working like 12-hour days or more on these beats. An expulsion of energy and emotions that we were feeling, having been through college and in the world as a human these days. It was a very, very intense music, and we put out like, there was one period of 3 months where we put out 30 albums in 3 months, so we were absolutely churning it out. And one of us still worked at the college, so we could go in there until 3 a.m. So we'd do the long walk into town, which was like 45 minutes to an hour, play until 3 a.m. because they could sign us in because they worked in facilities, and then use the incredible instruments again, so that all the benefits of the college like lasted longer for us because he could sign us in. So we would get like the timpani out, the tubular bells, there was a double bass there we could use, there were soprano saxophones, things that we didn't play, but just that love for all the sounds that were available to us there. So yeah, owe the college a lot for those facilities as well. So then Ancient Infinity Orchestra formed because we were playing that music for years, improvised music. We were doing the pilgrimage down to London a lot to check out things at Cafe Otto. So maybe 2 or 3 times a year we'd go down, we'd see the legends, so like Tamika Reed, Nicole Mitchell, John Edwards, Mark Sanders, Anthony Braxton, Roscoe Mitchell, William Parker, Hamid Drake, Peter Brotzman, Alexander Hawkins, Joshua Louis Maholo. We saw Charles Gale again. We saw Natural Information Society, all these incredible bands. So this was just a fueling time for like building a connection together through music and improvisation. And then personally, I've just felt like writing some melodies again. So I wanted to start a group where we had this outlet for improvisation, but also I wished to create some melodies basically. And I just met the drummer Joe Love, who was our original drummer. Meeting him was very special, and I knew I wanted to do something with him. And Andy French as well, who'd been a great friend through college. He'd moved off to Spain and he'd freshly fallen in love again, and he came back from Spain for a little bit, and he just sounded like incredible on the tenor saxophone. He always sounded really beautiful, but something just like opened up in his sound, and it was like, okay. And then the rest of the house as well. We started the band together, and it was just a really nice team. We wanted to start this group. We didn't know what instruments we wanted, but we just ended up with 2 double basses. We felt like maybe one of us should play piano, so Yorgos was the first pianist in the group. It wasn't his instrument, it was like, I'll play piano. And then Joel, because of the tendinitis, he'd just started learning flute and bass clarinet, which you wouldn't believe when you hear how incredible he is at those instruments. Yeah, these are hard-working people with a real love for music. Eventually, it just started growing and growing. It just expanded. People would be like, oh, can I come and play with Ancient Infinity Orchestra? And I was like, yeah, you can, yeah, come and have a play. And so basically anyone who asked to join, we asked a few people as well, obviously like Kemi, Jacob, we wanted them to join. And then eventually it's just got to a point where like, we probably can't take anyone else on, but we'd love to have you on this gig. So that's how we do it now.
Right. And were you already playing the bass there?
Yes, I fell in love with Charles Mingus's music in probably the 2nd year of college. When I heard that was my first like real deep obsession of some music, just hearing the way he played the bass, and I was like, I have to get a bass. And then I tried to play it with my very soft fingers. I was like, why don't I sound like Charles Mingus? And the only way I could even get a sound in 10% of the direction of what I wanted it to sound like, as good as him, to get such a nice tone, was to use 2 fingers like a rod, like kind of wedged together, because I think he had very big, strong hands. And so that's still the technique that I use now, because I'm just like trying to reach that nice tone that he had, or at least to begin with. I was like, I was kind of transcribing some Charles Mingus bass lines and trying to play those with a sound like his, which I never managed to do, obviously, but that's cool. You aim for something and you miss, so then you find something else.
Gondwana Records podcast.
How did you come up with this Ancient Infinity Orchestra, the name of the band?
Yeah. A lot of the time in that house, 76 Green Road, we'd be watching music documentaries. Obviously, we got really obsessed with so many musicians, but one of those is Sun Ra. And we were watching a documentary about Sun Ra had said to, I forget the name of the musician, that's annoying me. He played bassoon in the orchestra, I believe. And Sun Ra had said to him, you need to make a drum. And the next day, this was when they were living in Philadelphia in Germantown, when Sun Ra was still alive. They still live there now, sort of the orchestra, I think. But in Germantown in Philadelphia, the next day a tree got hit by lightning on the opposite side of the road. And this musician, whose name, that's going to bug me, decided to make a drum out of that, since Sun Ra had just told him to make a drum. So he carved this beautiful drum with all these Egyptian hieroglyphics on the side and stuff. And he started playing that on gigs, but that drum, he called it or maybe Sun Ra named it, the Ancient Egyptian Infinity Lightning Wood Drum, something like that. And I just heard that, I was like, whoa, what a name.
Yeah.
And it kind of stripped some of it away, just used Ancient and Infinite, and then we put orchestra on the end. That's how we came up with the name. But even though I didn't think about it in such a way, but now I also think of how much I love these like ancient musics and how immortal and timeless those sounds are, and how deeply human like a lot of the traditional music from around the world and the really old stuff still feels so good. And I think that is infinite as well. Not that that has anything to do with the thought process, but it's funny how those things happen in reflection.
Yeah, the name was meant to be. In 2023, Ancient Infinity Orchestra released a debut album on Gondwana Records called River of Light, and the band performed at North Sea Jazz Festival and a few other festivals across the UK, including We Are Tube Festival, and you had an amazing year. Yeah. How did you become a Gondwana family?
We met Matthew because we put out a sort of homemade record in 2018 that we like hand painted all the CDs and stuff, kind of Sun Ra orchestra style, you know, designing all the art sleeves and stuff. But then we put out another record which we put onto Bandcamp, and Matthew heard that. I think he was one of the very few people that heard it, being an avid music researcher that he is.
Wow.
And interested in what young people are doing and what's happening on the music scenes and stuff. So I had no idea who Matthew was. None of us knew who he was, but he sent us a message saying, we'd love to come over, we've got a label that's based in Manchester. And we were like, oh amazing, yeah, thank you so much, come over. So he came to that house, 76 Green Road, and he sat in our sitting room and we like blasted some music at him. And then he said, okay, I'm going to go back and speak to the Gondwana team and get back to you. And I think they decided that, I think the words were, it's too cosmic at the time. And we were like, thank you very much, we leave in peace, sort of thing. And then, so that was our first interaction, but we had a really nice day just chatting with Matthew and getting to know him. And then it wasn't until, so then we went separate ways for 2 or 3 years. And then COVID times, so we were, as a band, we were desperately like trying to stay connected in some way. Also, I moved down to Brighton during that time, and so it's like trying to keep the band going, even though none of us could play together. So as many bands did, we tried this kind of, I record a bass part, send it to Elliot, he records the second bass part that I've written, and then send it to the next person, that comes back to me, I mix it in. It just takes forever, but like, what else are you gonna do? Like you're desperate to play music with your friends, and not just COVID restrictions, but in a different city. And so we built a few tracks, and we just tried to like put them out onto Facebook at the time. And I think Matthew heard one of those, so this is in 2021 or something, and he either rang me and just said, we want to do something. And I think in the back of his head, it wasn't the right sound then at the time for the label, but I think hearing some of the new stuff or whatever it was, he said that you want to make a bit of it, could we maybe work something out? So I write lots of music and then send all the ideas to Matthew, and he's like, maybe this one and this one and this one. that's kind of how it works.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm just so grateful for him sort of sticking with us and giving us another chance, because we're playing at crazy places. Like we put out a record or something, like a little homemade sample of an album or whatever, and maybe 12 of our friends would hear it or something, and now it feels, I think because of his experience, it feels like he's like a kind of elder, because he can do so much for younger. He's only 10 years older than me, but just amazed and really happy for him that he's managed to sort out a situation where he can do for other people what he would have loved someone to do for him, just to be snapped up. And so, yeah, eternally grateful for giving us a listen and giving us his time and pouring his love into this project.
Beautiful. Debut album River of Light featured a choir from Brighton, and there are 30 people involved, or maybe more than 30 people involved. And you explained that everyone not only made music but also cooked together, basically creating and looking after each other when you're making the album.
Yeah.
And it sounds like it was like your everyday life. But from outsiders, it sounds so amazing. And you made the album in 3 days?
Yeah.
Yeah, how do you look back at that experience?
Very fondly, because I'd moved to Brighton and then I've met all these amazing musicians down there. There's bands like the Hill Collective who are going strong, sounding amazing. Lauro, who led a group called Wax Machine that I was in. There's the Safe House crew down there, which is like a monthly improvised event, and I'd met so many groups. The New Eves. Was lucky enough to, after a lot of traipsing around Brighton for months trying to find stuff that I really loved, found these people who took me into their little family down there. And yeah, that was a really, really special time. And for that album, being able to like bring together my Leeds family and my Brighton family as well, that was the highlight of the week, like past any of the music that we made as well. Like, I mean, it was all the same sort of thing, because the red light would be on, we'd record some music, and then you'd go downstairs and like 2 members of the choir were making incredible food. Ollie from Ancient Infinity Orchestra is teaching Adam how to play the kaval, and like just stuff going on everywhere. And Phil Smith as well, he's another incredible musician, someone just in love with sound as well. So he was kind of documenting it. He does a lot of what's it called, where you just like go out to places in nature with a dictaphone or whatever. I don't know what that's called.
Oh, field recording?
Field recordings, thanks. So he would just leave a microphone on in the room downstairs as well, like whilst people were, practicing the choir part for the next song. So I look at that time very fondly, because it was like my closest friends from this time combining with my closest friends from Leeds, and it was beautiful.
It sounds amazing, but also, when you have a lot of people, it could be a lot of work.
Yeah.
What is the beauty of working with a big group of people? Because I think you like it, and you're a people person.
Yeah, definitely. As much as I hear choir in the music, I also just wanted those people to be there. Like I wanted them to be in the same room, because I think it makes the music better when you get to share stuff with people. Like you get all the credit names on the album, but then like there's my great friends Steve and Jen who have helped me out so much, letting me even live at their house and stuff. But these are the people that don't make it onto the credits, especially with a sort of hip and modern Gondwana, minimalist style. But I'd love to just thank them for hosting the entire choir as well. It seems like a lot to organise, but there's a lot of help that comes in from outside and friends and family and stuff like all the time. So yeah.
Gondwana Records podcast.
There are questions coming from your friends and fans. So let's move on to the Q&A. We have some serious question and some maybe not too serious question.
Okay, yeah.
First up from Sotlist Trolis. When is that mustache going?
Oh yeah. I think that's because he saw the little video where I was asking for questions.
Yeah.
And I use a dry eraser, so I don't get like completely to the skin, but yeah, he's teasing me. I've got his drum kit. So many of my great friends from Leeds, like Salvador, Yorgos, the original pianist in the group, like they all leave, like Andy French as well, that tenor player I was on about, he's moved to Spain and he lives there now. Even Ollie Dover, who's still in the group, he lives in Sicily. So many people move away, but yeah, thank you for your question. It's gone for today. It's trimmed back, so thanks for asking.
Next from Sunny Vels.
She's in the choir on the second album.
Ooh. How do you compose for so many individual musicians, each with their own styles and sounds?
Good question. So you're writing for instruments, right? Because you know the people that are playing when you're in a band with people, so you're writing for people's characters, and like you want to give everyone space to shine, like you know what they enjoy because you've spoken to them about it.
So you're writing the music for each part, but not for the instrument, more like a musician? You know their style, you know their personality.
I'm writing for the person, exactly. And I often ask, well, not often enough, but I have asked in the past, is everyone getting what they want out of music through this project? Because I would love that. I think it gives the whole thing, obviously I want everyone to be happy as well, don't I? Because like ultimately I'm more of a musical facilitator, I think, and a big music fan. The musicians in this group are absolutely incredible, and my speciality, I think, is writing music, but also just getting people together. I like organising that sort of thing. So I want everyone to be as happy as possible. So if Mick wants something a bit more technical to play, like I'll try and write something a bit hard that he can take home and work on. Or if Evan has now been playing the violin long enough that he's feeling way more confident to take solos, like I'm going to bear that in mind and try and give more space for Evan, because he only started playing the violin when he joined the band.
Oh.
So, and now he sounds absolutely amazing. He's always played mandolin and guitar as well, very beautifully, but he wanted to do more improvisation. He's in a great band called The Often Heard, which does bluegrass stuff. And so yeah, if I want this part of the tune to go like release Joel Stedman on the bass clarinet or something like that, you know. So you get to know everyone just from knowing them as people, and you know what they like doing, and you know all the other projects they do and how they, like, just we've played together so much, especially there's some of us in the group who have played a lot more together, like in various other projects over the time, so you just get to know each other, and that's what makes a proper band, I think.
It'll be interesting for you to write a big band score for the band that you don't know.
Yeah, because I've never done that. It would be really fun to do that.
Yeah. Okay, next question from Steve Hanley. What's your favorite aquatic creature?
Definitely, I'm not going to say definitely, actually, but whales come to mind at first. The double bass actually reminds me of whales as well. And I've listened to a lot of whale song things just because I find them very relaxing, and watch loads of documentaries on whales. So I'd say whales. And they have a fascinating culture as well. I've been learning about, like, they have a smash hit every year where I think it's the humpback whales. I might be wrong, someone can correct me, but they'll swim vertically down, find like a concave area of a reef and sing their song so that it gets projected through the ocean. So this will be the tune of 2025 that one whale will be singing, and then hundreds of miles away, or not 100 miles, like 20 miles away or something, maybe, I don't know, the next whale will be like, yeah, that's the one, I like that melody, I'm gonna sing that. And then before you know it, like from the coast of Australia, like all the way across, all over the place, whales that year are singing the same song to impress their mates.
Yeah.
So they have music culture basically that is like Top of the Pops, but it's yearly rather than every week.
Yeah, that's interesting. I've actually heard similar story recently, and the good thing about whales are no one really reject, they're not going to be like, oh, I don't like that song. They're like, okay, this sounds cool, and everyone learns it.
Yeah, that's nice, isn't it?
That's very cute. Okay, this one is from Joel Whitaker. What is the total number of fingers and toes in Ancient Infinity Orchestra?
That's great. I did see that come in on the message, and it made me laugh a lot. Thanks, Joel. There's 15 or 16 of us. Not, to my knowledge, nobody is missing or having any extra fingers or toes. So 16 times 20? We're a 16-piece band if we have Jed playing percussion with us. Otherwise, we're 15. So 15 times 20. You can work that out, Joel. I can't.
Okay, Joel. And
I miss you, Joel.
Yeah. And finally, from Sammy D. What's the most instrument that you played in one set?
We have heaps of percussion just like stacked all around our feet, so if you're counting all of those as instruments, then I don't know. I'm afraid there's a lot. I usually stick to double bass. I did play drums on our last gig for the whole gig, which was really fun, but usually double bass, and then sometimes I play the ngoni, which is a West African harp instrument. It's like a kora but less strings, and it's one of my favourite sounds. That Don Cherry used one of those quite a lot. I'd love to get a harmonium. I borrowed one for this second album from a friend in Leeds, but I'd love to get one because I hear those drones in our music a lot, and usually do those with our strings, I suppose, or in other ways, or with horns or whatever. But I feel like sometimes Elliot can just take over the bass role maybe, and then I'll play the harmonium, but need to get one first.
Okay, that was a good question. And
thank you.
We got more questions, but I'm gonna save some for the next show. Okay. So on the next episode, we'd love to chat about the brand new album from Ancient Infinity Orchestra. It's always about love. Thank you, Ozzy.
Arigato.
Arigato.
Gondwana Records podcast.
Coming up next in episode 22, We continue our conversation with Ozzy Moysey as we explore the inspiration and creation behind the Ancient Infinity Orchestra's new album, It's Always About Love.